Hi everyone, it is Marie here from Skeins, and today is day 7 in the quarantine diaries. How is everybody going today? I woke up this morning today convinced it was Tuesday, and then I actually realized it's not Tuesday, it's Wednesday. So it's amazing how quickly a week will go by. And well, I hope it's been fast at your place. It certainly has been very fast for me. I've had so much on and caught up with so many jobs around the house, plus jobs with work. There has been a lot happening. So it's, I can't get over that it is Wednesday already. And as of midnight tonight, we have done our whole first week in lockdown. So I think we should pat ourselves on the back for that. It's a great achievement. We've still got a wee way to go, but I think it's been all pretty positive so far. Speaking of positive, I just want to do a huge shout out and thank you again for all the positive outpouring messages of support that we received since the podcast and Quarantine Diaries yesterday. It was really difficult to record yesterday, and it was something that has been long overdue, to be said. And it was so nice to get that level of support from you. But more than that, some of the short stories that some of you have shared about how important knitting, yarn, crafting in this community is to your own mental well-being, and to keep you safe mentally, to keep you buoyant, to keep you motivated, and to keep you inspired during these really exceptional times. And so thank you very much for sharing some of those stories. Some of them were incredibly heartfelt and very, very personal, and we appreciate it, and we do. We thank you for doing that, and thank you again for your support. Also, too, there are a lot of new people to both Skeins, the store, Skeins, the Quarantine Diaries, and also Skeins, the Speakeasy over the last week. So welcome to you. So today I'm actually putting some stuff in the diaries which will be quite repetitive, I think, for some of our regular viewers and regular listeners and members of our community, but I think will really help you guys out who are new to the community. So welcome along. We love to have you here. We are really busy at the minute pulling together orders to send out to those people that do essentially need them, and you may have seen the photo I popped up of Damien. I understand the classic rock is blaring quite loud at the warehouse, but he's having a great time bopping along on his own there, just ferreting away and getting those orders out to those that need them. So I'm going to kick off. What am I going to kick off first? First, I'm going to kick off today with my progress on the Rambler, and then I'm going to let you know actually this hat that I'm wearing today, and I'm actually going to do a wee book review for you and a place where you can find patterns, and also help those who are new to knitting or coming back to knitting after having a long time away, where you can actually find some resources whilst you're at home in quarantine, and where you can actually find what it is that you need to do to be able to knit and get yourself back on your journey. And then lastly, we're going to, I'm just going to show you another stash project, or some of the stuff that I've worked on from stash. So if you've got that yarn at home and you're not needing to order it all, let's get that yarn used up and some of the things that you can do with it. So I was awake at 4 a.m. this morning. Yes, I'm at that age where sleep is a bit of a unicorn or a bit of a mythical beast. Sometimes it turns up and it's wonderful, and other times not so much. So today it was 4 a.m. wide awake. So I thought, right, I'm going to get onto it. So the first thing I have to tell you, and if you were up early, you would have seen I posted this, I have had to tink back a row on the Rambler in the yoke a couple of times. And it was because, so this pattern is free. So for those who have just joined us, this is a pattern that we've been working on. Where is the front page? So it's called the Rambler Sweater by Marcella Chang, available free on Ravelry. And it is this lovely colour work jumper, and I'm working it in 4-ply. And it has got a mixture of a written instruction with a basic chart, which is there. Now, I had done the written instructions around the first 3 lots of increasing, and then they had an instruction for the yoke, and basically saying start from the bottom right working up, which I took to meaning bottom right working up. And then I noticed there were even more increases in there, and I did some increasing and ended up with nigh on almost 500 stitches on the needle. And I'm thinking, I mean, girl's big, but she ain't that big. So I was like, there is something amiss here. So I tinked it all back and then had another look at it, and then jumped onto Ravelry, wanted to see what other people were striking. Well, of course, there's only 2 projects listed on Ravelry because this pattern is so new. So there was no information there. So I was like, And then I sort of had another look at it, and I thought, and I did a little bit of, so what I ended up doing is I saw the stitch count that they had for the end of the increasing there, and then I looked at the separation in the body of sleeve count here for once you've done your colour work, and the stitch count was identical. So I thought, aha, okay, I know what she does. So when they're saying work from the bottom right hand of the chart, they're not meaning this bottom right hand. They're actually, they're meaning that bottom right hand there. Also there, she's got an increase sitting in there, which doesn't sit in the written instructions. So there is actually some technical editing improvements that need to be made there. So if you are knitting this, my suggestion is you get yourself down to this instruction here, and then you start from row 15 on your chart, but do ignore the increasing that's there because you've already done it down here. That's where I'm at. My stitch count matches. I've started doing the colour work. It all lines up. So that's all we need to know, isn't it, really? As long as it all lines up. So I have been ferreting away on this, and I'm going to show you this when I flick it around. And I've even managed, I've only just quickly whipped out, and I've managed to get my third colour in. As you can see the blue. I was a little bit worried that the blue would not be contrasty enough. I think there is enough contrast there. I've now got that very nice little bright in there. And I'm actually quite proud of my floats, people. Look at this. I'm not a big, I don't do a lot of colour work, and I'm not super clever like Ethan. But as you can see, my floats are not looking too bad. Plenty of room there, nice and even. So, and grippy yarn makes floats nice and easy. So Rambla is chucking along quite well. So I'm going to, I'm really keen to get stuck in and get more of that colour work knocked off today. And I'll keep posting up progress on that for you. So I'm really happy with how that's moving along, which is great. Really pleased. Also really pleased with some of the projects that have been posted over in the Speakeasy. There's some real crackers, like lots of finishing off going on, which is great. And it's been so good to see. And I've also seen there have been people working on the Arne and Carlos blocks as they're in isolation in Norway. They look amazing. I mentioned yesterday there's a number of COVID blankets being done. You're finding some really, really fantastic ways to use up bits of stash and some of those unicorn skeins that we've talked about, or even little scrappy bits and pieces. Actually, have I got? Oh, yes, I have. Speaking of scrappy bits and pieces, like this is a beanie here. I think I wore this earlier in the quarantine diaries. This is a beanie that's done in 12 ply. Now this beanie is a free beanie on, it's not on Ravelry. I think it's called the Cocoa Beanie, Kogo, which stands for Knit One Give One. I think I just got it off a website somewhere. Now I like this beanie because for those that work traditionally, because it's a worked flat beanie. Okay, so it has got a seam, and I know a number of you do not work in the round. If the other nice thing I like about this beanie is it's got a fairly standard sizing. So this one here I did in a 12 ply yarn. It's very, very easy to modify this beanie for using 10 ply of 8 ply, 10 ply, or 12 ply. The pattern's free. And as you can see with this one with the stripes, I actually made this one using scraps. I had scraps there. So if you've come and joined us, you're just new, you're wanting to pick the needles up and you haven't picked the needles up for a really, really long time, and you're wanting to actually do something that's quite straightforward, this beanie is an absolute cracker. I will put the link in the comments when I dig it out for you so you can track it down. But this is actually a really good one to get you started. You only need one set of needles, and as I said, it's worked on a set of straight needles. So honestly, dust off those old knitting bags or boxes and drag those old needles out, because this is a brilliant little project that you can do with that. And also too, if you are looking for stuff to knit and you're picking and you are going to grab some yarn for us, we do have a limited amount of needles, and we use circular interchangeables is what we have available. We also though have a good number of crochet hooks available, so if you're wanting to do some crochet, I actually haven't got any crochet here, but I will bring some in tomorrow, actually day after tomorrow to show you. You can grab those, but dig around and see what you've got at home first. If you need some advice on what to purchase using the resources that you have, just email us, info@skeins.com. Both Claire and I are clearing those emails and helping you out with those inquiries. So we're here for you to give you advice where you need it. And also, this is now a big shout out for those who, the charities and stuff that we work with. I know Sandra and her team from the Yarny Army knit a whole variety of things that they use for charity and for babies. So if you're at home and you're wanting some pattern ideas, you don't have any patterns, you're not sure what to knit, you're not sure what works, any of you out there who currently knit for a charity, whether it be Yarny Army or Blankets for Babies or any of these other sources, and you've got some really good, simple, free, tried and tested patterns that have worked brilliantly for these charities, if you've got links to them, pop them up in the comments here. So those who are watching the video, if they're wanting to get access to those patterns, they know where to find them. Because if you're a bit of a newbie and you haven't picked up the needles or a hook for a very, very long time, it just makes your life a lot easier to be able to jump on and get an access to those sites nice and readily. So if you are from a charity and you've got those listing, jump them on there. I think what I will do too over the week is I'll set up a thread. I'll probably do it on the Skeins Speakeasy. So if you're not a member, I keep forgetting to turn that off. If you're not a member of the Speakeasy, do make sure you join the Speakeasy. And then you can actually list links to contacts for those charities. So then that way, if you are doing some knitting at home, again, using up bags of scraps or stuff that you've been given, or finding your equipment and pulling in a little bit of yarn to keep you going at this time, you then have an outlet once your projects have been completed to be able to get those distributed where they need to be. So we'll hook you up. Excuse the pun, especially if you're a crocheter. So do that. We'd love to, feel free. I mean, use us as a resource. It's all part of why we're here in the wonderful community that we live in. Right, book review and hats. I've been wearing a new hat every day, as many of you may have noticed. And there's a very good reason for that, because I really don't want you to see my natural hair colour. Would you believe that I was due to get it augmented the day after lockdown started last week? So the hats have come out, and you will be seeing a lot of me in hats until lockdown is lifted and augmentation can re-happen. But this is a hat that I talked about. I knitted this hat, I think, 2 years ago now, or nearly 2 years ago. And as you can see, it's a lovely cabled hat. I've done two of them, in fact. I'll show you the second one. This one was done in silver linings, so we do still have silver lining available. And this one here is done in chatswood, which is also available. But any double knitting yarn would do, and you need you need 2 balls or 100 grams. You actually use around 75 grams for the hat. And as you can see, it is a lovely cabled hat, not difficult. It's called the Ivy Trellis Hat, and it's from this wonderful book called Botanical Knits 2 by Alana Dakos. Now, if you're at home, obviously, not everyone's going to have this lying around, are they? But Alana has all of her patterns and both of her collections from both her Botanical Knits book, these Botanical Knits 1 and 2. And it's a really, really wonderful collection. And I love it primarily because she has a love for sort of very woodsy, rustic yarns, which are yarns that lend themselves to yarns that are really readily available here, and readily available from yarns that we have sitting around in our stashes, in cupboards we've been given. You know, we've all got that sort of quite earthy, homespunsy type yarn, or you may even have some homespun. This hat lends itself beautifully to that. I mean, I've knitted it in double knitting, but if you've got a 10 ply, honestly, you could comfortably knit this in a 10 ply. You'll definitely need 2 balls of 10 ply for that. If you've got like a unicorn skein of something, like a single skein of a wonderful indie dyed yarn in a DK, particularly if it's not too, the colours aren't too drastic, like the colours are quite soft or muted, would be perfect in this hat. And all of these are available on Ravelry. So I'll stick the Ravelry link for this pattern in the comments for you. But do check out her entire collection, because she has a number of, I've knitted actually several hats from her collection. I've knitted another one called Thicket, which I think is down there. I'll dig out another day, and also another cloche that she did, which is an Art Deco styled cloche, which I'd knitted for our Art Deco celebrations here in Hawke's Bay, with a matching wrap. And they are, yeah, just beautiful patterns, very, very knittable, and also a nice size, because if you're only sort of dusting off the needles for the first time in a long time, or you've only knit very basic things and you're wanting to sort of move to the next level project, something like this is actually a really good project to move on to. And she's got a number of projects in there of varying levels. So this is the hat. She also has actually in her first book, she actually started with the mitts, and those mitts are knitted in a 4-ply yarn. So something like those mitts would be perfect in the yarn, for example, that I'm doing that in. So there are a whole load of options there. So her name is, again, Alana Dakos. Botanical Knits is the collection. She's Knits 1 and Knits 2. And as I said, I will post those links up on where to find those on Ravelry for you. And I think if you're looking for a pattern source, so I mean, Ravelry, if you've not been on Ravelry, it is a community and it's a fantastic pattern database and library. Everything is there, but it's almost too overwhelming. There is so much content on there, so many things to look at. Sometimes it can be just a little bit difficult navigating your way through to find what you're looking for. They do have a very good pattern search refinement, but sometimes I just find it easier to look at I find certain designers speak to me in terms of what they do. Libby Johnson, that we spoke to here on Monday, she's another designer. Her page is fantastic. She's under Truly Myrtle or Libby Johnson on Ravelry, and she's able to provide you, she's got wonderful hat patterns, her sweaters, her shawls, and often what I find is you will fall into step with a designer. You like how they write their patterns and work them. They'll have a collection and a style ethos that you really sort of get into. So I sometimes will often hunt things out by design as opposed to necessarily project. And people who know me quite well and have been watching the videos for a number of years will know that I do have my favourites, Alana being one of them. I talked about Martina Bean the other day. She's the hitchhiker scarf, and in fact I'll just re-show that to you. So if you're at home, she's the lady that does the scarf. This scarf is just a brilliant project to pick, because again, all you need is, you can get away with this one on a straight needle, and you just pick your needle to the weight of your yarn. So if you've got double knitting yarn, you use 4mm needle or a number 8. If you've got 4-ply yarn, use a 3.25 or 3.5mm needle, or 3.75 even, which is what's that in the old money, a 9 or a 10, a number 9 needle or a number 10 needle. And it is just a very, very simple garter stitch scarf. It's very straightforward. Brilliant, brilliant project if you're getting back into things again. Really good if you're getting back into it. So this one used just some sock yarn, 4-ply 50-gram ball sock yarn. This used 3 balls, I think, of that. This, I actually upped the needle size on this one. So this used a 100-gram ball of this crazy looking yarn. And how many of you, and I know that you'll be out there, how many of you have got a single ball of that opal sock yarn, you know, the self-patterning yarn? I know a number of you probably bought a ball or two of that in your time, and it's still sitting in the cupboard there somewhere. If you've got a ball of opal, a number 8 or a number 9 needle, one of those, honestly, you'll get that out of a ball. And the patterning is brilliant. It works so well in a pattern like this. Really good way for using up those printed single sort of unicorn balls that you've got roaming around. And, you know, if you're not a sock knitter, it's actually a really nice way of using those colours and getting a really neat effect from the yarn. So again, I'll post these links up for you, so don't panic, I can do that for you. Or if someone's in chat already and you want to do that for me, save me a job, I won't complain. Right, what else have I got to talk about? Oh, so I mentioned yesterday about this, and I put a picture of this up, and it's around, so you're feeling a little bit more adventurous. You've got a whole heap of different yarns, and see, that's a fabric that I've made using a whole swag of different yarns. This is one of my Never Never designs that I will eventually publish it, I promise. I have a lot of round tuits, and this is one of them. But I also, and I've been playing around with it, the same design, I actually have done it in multiple weights, and this is the same design, but using super chunky yarn. And I had a couple of skeins of this stuff, which is called Malabrigo Rasta. But we've also done this yarn. We've done it in, if you've shopped the actual, our actual physical store is where you tend to find these more than our online store. But we've done this, we had a range called Texas. We've also done this in printed hanks. You may have picked up actually some Queen Bee from Outlaw. Is a similar weight to this, is another really good yarn. And and also some indie dyes have done these super chunks as well. And I love them because there's instant gratification with them. They're really quick, they're really easy, and they're something that you can play around with. But I didn't have, that's the thing, you'll often buy one or two sort of biggish hanks of this, but because you're knitting it up on quite a large needle, it really doesn't go a super long way. I mean, for most people, if you've got a single hank, this sort of thing, which this is just a little sort of snooty hoodie type thing. Oh, there we go. I'm going to show you the grey. This is generally only the sort of thing that you can do with it. So what I wanted to do was take, I think I had 3 skeins, take the skeins that I had and actually produce something on a larger scale. And how do I go about doing it? So I did it because I'd had Stephen Berg here. And if you came to Knitworkers Nights or you've watched any of Stephen's videos, you will know that Stephen has energy to burn, and he's intensely creative, and he has no fear about mixing textures or colours or different yarns. And I mean, as far as he's concerned, the only rule in knitting is there is no rules. So after spending a significant amount of time with him, I got quite inspired and dove into my stash. And the first thing I pulled out was this super chunk. And it's like, well, what have I got to go with it? So I have paired a whole bunch of different yarns with it. So I had the super chunky there. And then in this next portion, I then created my own super chunky yarn, as you can see there. And I used, I mean, there's actually 4 yarns in there. There is a mohair. There's a little fine 4-ply with a wee bit of sparkle in it. There's a bright lime green DK, and there's another sort of other greeny printed DK, and I held all of those together, and they have given me, I've been able to produce my own yarn that to go with this to give this really incredible effect. And it was so much fun. I've only managed to wear this a couple of times. I haven't really photographed it properly. I do need to do that. But what I just wanted to show you is don't let your creativity, or don't let what you don't think you have in your style, or not having a fixed pattern hold you back. I mean, you may just want, this poncho is very straightforward, but if you can create an incredible fabric, there's nothing stopping you just knitting a whole big swathe and turning this into a wrap. I mean, all a poncho, the most basic of ponchos is a giant rectangle with a single seam. So let your creativity go wild, have a dig around. If you need to get something to augment it, we're there. But for those that are lucky enough to have stuff at home, use it, utilize it. This is the time. This is the time to dig all this stuff out and get yourself using all these weird and wonderful bits and pieces. So I love doing stuff like that. I really, really enjoy it. So do have a crack at that. If you are uncertain of what to do, dig all your stuff out, take a photo of it, pop it up on Speakeasy. Someone there will be able to offer you some help and inspiration. And that's what we're there for. The Speakeasy is just such an incredible community. There's a wonderful, it's literally a hive knitting mind, and they will be able to help point you in the right direction and give you that sort of inspiration that you might be looking for. Now, I'm going to have a quick look here and just see if anyone has got any questions for us. So Jeanette's she's out sewing. Now, I'm not a sewer, but you know what? I know a few of you are. I know Jeanette's a sewer. I know Solange, who's a regular in here, she's a sewer as well. You know what? If you're a sewer and you're taking a wee bit of a break and you are doing some sewing, feel free to post that up. We'd love to see that work as well. I'm not a sewer. I'm hopeless. But do definitely pop it up and show us what you're doing. We'd love to see what you're doing there. Excellent. So, no, do make sure you're doing that. We do have a question. Is the courier cost still cheaper for local deliveries? Yes, you do need to make sure, though, if you are a local who is unable, especially if you're unable to get out. But if you are a local, we have an urban delivery to Napier, Hastings, Clive and Flaxmere, but you do need to select that as your delivery option. And that is, yes, New Zealand couriers have given us a fantastic rate for local deliveries during this time. Well, in fact, hopefully we'll be able to maintain it after this time. And it's, I think, $3.99, which is, thank you, New Zealand couriers, who I must do a huge shout out to. They've been incredibly supportive over the last few days. They are a really wonderful, wonderful business to deal with. We've got an incredible relationship with them, and we have moved forward completely with their blessings. So for those that are concerned around that we're potentially putting that team at risk, I can assure you right now that we have been working with them as one of our key business partners alongside with this, and they are nothing but 100% supportive. And yes, we adore you very much, the team at New Zealand Couriers. You do such a great job for us. What else have we got coming up this week? I'm going to chat to Charles tomorrow, Charles Gandy in the in the US. So hopefully he lives in the woods in Georgia, so he actually just needs to pop somewhere out so he can get a decent phone line into him. So we're going to talk to, fingers crossed, if all goes well, we'll chat to Charles tomorrow. And we're going to catch up with Ethan Barclay Eno again from Outlaw Yarns on Saturday. We spoke to Ethan last Saturday, and I definitely want to talk to him about how my floats are going with the Rambler sweater. But we're also going to be talking about all things Stephen West on Saturday. And what I thought was, since it's Saturday, I decided that we're going to have a bit of a pajama party. I've kind of kicked it off today. I'm going to stand up. Ta-da! Look, got my jardy pants on. So Saturday, I want you to join us with your cup of tea and your PJs, grab your knitting, and we're going to have a pajama party with Ethan, and we're going to talk all things Stephen West. But until then, Have a fantastic day. Enjoy your knitting. I haven't done any baking or very little exciting cooking to share, but hopefully I can rectify that this afternoon and I can give you some more culinary inspirations as well. But until then, I will talk to you again, same bat time and bat channel tomorrow, 11 o'clock here with Skeins, the Quarantine Diaries. Take care.